Hello and welcome back. Welcome back. Today's video, I wanted to tell you about some of my favorite TV shows that I've watched this year, 2020. This was inspired by a video that Bread and Butter did, and she mentioned that she would like some more recommendations for things to watch. So here are my recommendations. These videos span a number of genres, but I don't have like cable or HBO, so most of these are what's available on Netflix in the US. I know that availability changes depending on country, and I think 2 of these are on Hulu as well. So, with that in mind, let's get started. I thought I would use these bananagram tiles to spell out the name of the TV shows. This was also inspired by Bread and Butter, who did this like 2 years ago, I think, of an old video. So here we go. The first show I'm gonna recommend, we'll start with a sort of superhero show, although it's pretty different from what is on the CW, I think. Can't find any H's. And it's the Umbrella Academy. Let's see it be. The second season came out this summer, and I really liked it. So this show, it is ostensibly about superheroes. There must be another L somewhere. This is me multitasking, searching, spelling, and describing all at once. Here we go. The Umbrella Academy. Because the main characters are 7 adopted siblings. I've seen it described as not a found family, but a forced family. They have interesting sibling relationships with each other that I really enjoy, and it's pretty funny. It can be a little bit of dark humor. They are trying to save the world, but it's a little bit different than other superhero shows. And being heroes isn't their main job. They are pretty disenchanted with the notion. So most of them don't use their abilities or prefer not to, and they're sort of, I wouldn't say they're failed superheroes, but they are people in their 30s, I think they're 30 in the first season, who are, trying to get past their very, very bizarre childhood. And I find the characters really likable, sort of realistic, other than the superhero part. And it's fun, and it's got great soundtrack, so that's fun too. I liked the second season. I don't look at reviews of TV shows, so I couldn't tell you how other people received it, but I liked it. So that is my first recommendation. I don't have enough letters, so I won't be able to keep all my recs together probably, but I'll just put this up here for now. Okay, so to completely change genres, the next one I'm going to say is Pose. I've seen the first 2 seasons. I don't know if there is a third one out yet. I haven't checked. I think they're making it, but because I watch things on Netflix, they often come from TV to Netflix a little bit later. Pose is a drama, I guess. It's about ballroom culture in New York City in the late 80s. And this is a found family rather than a forced family. So at the very beginning, one of the main characters starts her own house for ballroom and recruits different people to walk in the competitions and make costumes and dance. She recruits a young man who has been kicked out of his family for being gay, and she helps him get into dance school, and he's really talented. Watching him dance is just amazing. I think I actually cried just because it's so joyful. And while I love dancing and I love watching people who are having a good time dancing, so this show, despite its setting, it is the late 80s. It's a culture where HIV and AIDS is really ravaging the community. It's not tragic all the time, which a lot of shows or movies about this time period really are. It's just a lot of tragedy. This show is not like that. Obviously it touches on these topics that are very serious, but it's mostly just really beautiful, and again, just really likable characters. You're rooting for them. You want them to be happy and safe and to dance and to succeed and win. So I love it. It's just really good television. Okay. Okay, to really switch genres again, I'm going to do this one. This one is a comedy. It's called Derry Girls. Derry Girls. And there are 2 seasons of this one too. They're making a third. I don't know when it will be out because it is coming out of the UK, and I honestly have no idea how they do TV over there, and they have like a random number of episodes per season, and I don't know when TV comes out. But Derry Girls is a comedy about these high school girls and one boy who live in Derry, or Londonderry, which is in Northern Ireland, and it takes place in the 90s, so it's during the time where there's violence there. And they do touch on that in the show, so while it is just like a hysterically funny show about 4 or 5 kind of awful teenagers, I think it's 4, right? So 3 main girls and a boy, just kind of, awful teenagers, and then their parents and their teachers who are all nuts. Then it has these moments where the girls are just being teenagers and there's violence all around them. So it's a really interesting juxtaposition juxtaposition of that time. And, you know, this show has me laughing so hard. And then I think in each season finale, I ended up crying. So just be aware of that. Their use of the cranberries is, it's very strong, but it's emotionally manipulative. Derry girls. It's so worth it. Everyone should watch this show. Okay. Okay. Next show, next genre. This one is, I watched it on Hulu and not Netflix, so if you are American, you can find it on Hulu. I've seen the first 2 seasons. Okay, I think I'm about to steal an L from over here. And the third one, I guess, was just put on Hulu because I watched the second season like a month ago, I think, maybe 2 months ago, and it wasn't there. But now there's a third season, so I'm really excited to watch it. But Killing Eve is about Eve. This is more of an action thriller show, maybe. So we've got superhero drama, I guess, comedy and action thriller. It's about Eve, who is an intelligence analyst. So she works for MI6 despite being American, and she is a mess. So we think of intelligence analysts as being super smart and accomplished, super together. And in the first 2 seasons of this show, her life is kind of falling apart, and a lot of it is, it feels like it's very much her fault, especially in the second season. It's like people are telling her, you're going down this path, this is not good, you can't trust these people, and she kind of goes with her worst impulses anyway. And despite that, Sandra Oh is the main character playing Eve. She is so charming that I'm rooting for her anyway. Normally this kind of person I might not like in a TV show, but Sandra Oh does such an amazing job. And as I'm watching her, I'm wishing she's making different choices, but I just really like it. I like her. So she sort of falls in love, kind of. I think love is a strong word, but definitely forms a toxic attachment to a person she's meant to be investigating, Villanelle, who's an assassin. Villanelle is also a mess in a very different way. And their relationship as assassin and person trying to catch the assassin is, again, pretty toxic. So it's a good show. It has a lot of dark humor. And again, Sandra Oh is incredible. I know Oscars are for movies, but I think she should get one for this show. Okay. And now, next genre is gonna be horror. So this show actually came out 2 years ago, but I watched it again in October for the spooky vibes. I know I skipped a word. I skipped multiple words. The House. No, it's The Haunting of Hill House. H. There's gotta be another H here somewhere. Let's see if we can find it as I put in more letters. Oh, maybe I have to steal this H. Haunting of Hill House. I don't watch a lot of horror. I'm kind of a baby. I don't like being scared. I don't like not being able to sleep. Maybe some of you can relate to that. I think there are only 2 L's, and I think we ran out of H's. So we've got The Haunting of Ill House, but it's here, I'll do it Scrabble style. I'll move everything up. The Haunting of Hill House. There we go. Okay. And so this show is creepy. I'm not gonna pretend it's not, but it I would say it's more of a family drama than horror. The horror adds to the family drama, but the family drama is front and center. And so it's about these 2 parents and their 5 children who move into a house, Hill House, for the summer in the 90s. And then sort of what's going on with them over 20 years later, I guess almost 30 years later. And I think you learn pretty quickly that their mother died when they left the house. So this family ended up kind of broken up. They had a sort of tragic childhood, losing their mother. And despite leaving the house, all of the children and the father ended up haunted by the house anyway. So, they moved across the country, they moved to all sorts of places, but they still ended up haunted, and the house just kind of still had its grasp on them. So, as someone who comes from a big family with numerous siblings, I found the story really relatable, I guess. I'm not even sure that's the right word. Just really beautiful and tragic and heartwarming at times. We have these 5 siblings, and you see each episode is from a different perspective from someone in the family, and you see how they dealt with the tragedy and how they dealt with the haunting. And I found it really interesting. The end gets a little bit weird. There are a lot of these very dramatic speeches that people give, or sort of there's this dramatic storytelling that is not really how people talk, but I still enjoyed it. So I can see how that part might feel over the top for some people. But this is a show I enjoyed enough to watch it through. Actually, I think I watched it through 3 times, despite not liking horror. But there are horror elements for sure. There are some jump scares. Not that many, but they do exist. So, just be aware. It is a horror show. They recently made, not a sequel, but another haunting, I guess, in the series, The Haunting of Bly Manor, and it's like half the same actors and actresses, but a different house is haunted, and it's a different story. It takes place in the 80s, it takes place in a different country, so it's not actually related. I liked that one too. I think I liked this one more just for the family aspect of it, but that's my personal preference. There are other things on the Bly Manor haunting that I really did like as well. So I we're good. So this is a Netflix show. Okay. But if afterwards you find yourself feeling scared and anxious, as I sometimes did, then I would recommend, let's steal this "the" here. Running out of room. Oh. The Good Place. This show has 4 seasons, and it wrapped up somewhat recently, maybe last year, maybe last fall. They're pretty short seasons. I think they're like 13 episode seasons. I could be wrong on that. The Good Place is a comedy. It's kind of a sitcom. It's about the afterlife, so a sitcom that takes place in the afterlife, and it covers a lot of philosophy. So if you are a philosophy nerd, I think you'll appreciate a lot of the jokes here. I like this show a lot. It has some of the funniest jokes I've ever heard on TV. I think it's very clever. But beyond that, I think the messaging is really good. And it's also just very bright and cheery looking, which I liked. The aesthetic of it. It was just easy to watch in that way. And I struggle with TV, with comedy, where people are mean to each other, where being mean to someone is the butt of the joke. And that really isn't the case in this show. This show is really, it is not mean-spirited, it is good-spirited. So, I would recommend this to anyone who hasn't seen it yet. Yeah, that's a good show. Alright, have I gone through my whole list? Oh, I have 2 more that I consider more of like guilty pleasure shows. So, let's see, I have a little bit of room over here. The first one is The Witcher. Do I have a C? I think I'm out of C's. Let's see, I can steal a C from the Academy. Oh, and I know I'm out of H's. The Witcher. And the other, I'll move Derry Girls up here. Derry Girls. The other one that I would include is kind of a mess. And I know I'm out of H's. The Magicians. Both of these are fantasy. Although the Magicians, I would say, plays with more tropes. But it's also a lot campier. Well, I think Witcher is campy in its own way, isn't it? I think I'm out of G's. So The Witcher is based on a book, I did have another C, / video game. I think it's based on the books. I think it takes place before the video games. And I expected to hate it, actually. I had kind of a love-hate relationship with Witcher 3, the video game. I thought the show was probably going to be just awful. But I watched the first episode and thought, oh, that was pretty watchable. I watched the second episode and I was like, yeah, I'm kind of into this. And then I just kept going till the end. So, I didn't hate it. And it, I don't think I have any, like, grand, eloquent things to say about it other than I enjoyed watching it. I will say on rewatching it, I skipped all the parts with Siri because those parts I found way more boring. But yeah, I'd say it's enjoyable. I'm looking forward to the second season. It ended on a little bit of a cliffhanger, so I would like to know what happens. I guess I could probably look it up because it is a book and a video game. And The Magicians is a series. It might be based on a book. I'm actually not sure on this. It's definitely making fun of the Chronicles of Narnia. They have their own version of that book in the show. They call it Fillory instead of Narnia. And they visited, and there's a whole history of the kids who went there and became king and queen, and nothing is as fantastical or lovely as the book made it seem. It's all a lot darker. Magic it's funny in this universe. It's something that people are obsessed with. It's something that people want, that they value, and they all seem entirely miserable about it. But it's a very silly show. They have a number of musical episodes, which are fun. There are characters who I just ended up really caring about, and some I didn't, so I kind of put it down as a guilty pleasure, because I really do enjoy the show. I'm not sure I'm caught up with it. I would guess there's another season out. I don't think it's been canceled yet, so I don't know. It's a bizarre show. It basically, the first season takes place at like graduate school for magic people. Imagine like American Hogwarts, but for grad students. So it's already just very nonsense. But yeah, it's fun. And it knows that it's nonsense. Like it's pretty self-aware nonsense, I think. Okay, which reminds me, there are two shows I didn't include here. So I'm gonna keep going if that's okay with you. I thought I was done, but I realized on talking there were two shows I didn't get to. So I'm gonna steal another H. This one is, I would place it as sort of an epic drama. It's a Chinese TV show. It's 50 episodes, so it doesn't really do seasons, it just does like 50 episodes. This is a W, but I'm gonna pretend it's an M. And it's called The Untamed in English. I watched it this spring and was instantly obsessed. Actually, that's not quite true. The first 2 episodes of this show are almost entirely incomprehensible. So it's in Chinese, there are English subtitles, and even with that, the first 2 episodes of this show are almost entirely incomprehensible. I think as an American who hasn't watched a lot of this type of show or read the book the style of book that it comes from, there was just a lot missing for me. There are also like, 100 characters, and they all have 3 different names, plus some other honorifics they go by. So it was very, very difficult at the beginning to know what was happening. All these men in really silly and terrible wigs. You do get used to the wigs by the end of it. When I first saw pictures of this show, I was like, what is happening? Why does their hair look like that? And by the end, I was like, oh yeah, this is normal. People look like this. But the story is about, so like I said, it's an epic, it's about family is a big part of it. It's also a love story between two men, and in the book, it is an explicit love story. The TV show, which was filmed in China and was played in China, was heavily censored. You can't depict same-sex relationships on Chinese TV. But even with that, it's pretty clear in the show that these two men love each other and are in love with each other. I was kind of surprised at how much they got away with. There's also a lot of symbolism that has to do with romance, and specifically with same-sex romance. Symbolism from China, not something I had to look up, because rabbits don't mean same-sex attraction in America, but it is a symbol in China. So I was surprised at how much they got away with and how much they were able to show in terms of this. These two men, they start as teenagers, and then time passes and they grow up. So it was really a good show, a lot of good characters. My one critique is there are very few women in it. There are like 3 female characters, and that was kind of a bummer. But this is, it's really good. I saved it for when I was exercising, so every day I would watch like an episode or 2/3 of an episode while exercising, and I got very impatient to find out what happened, so it was a good motivator to get my exercise done. Okay, it's the Untamed, and the last show is called, oh man, I can't remember the name for a second there. Crazy Ex-Girlfriend. I'm definitely out of C's now, and space. I'm gonna shove everything. We got a C, R, A, C. How about a Y? I don't think I've used an X yet. And so Crazy Ex-Girlfriend is another comedy. It's finished. They knew it was going to end, and they ended it the way they wanted to, which is the same as The Good Place too. So those are both 4 seasons, and they both told the story they wanted to tell, which I really appreciate. I hate it when shows go on way too long and sort of lose the thread, lose the story, and just drag on. But Crazy Ex-Girlfriend did not do this. And it is about this woman, Rebecca Bunch, who is a lawyer in New York and is unhappy with her life and decides to uproot everything and move to California to chase after her high school ex-boyfriend. Not even high school, summer camp. They were together at summer camp. And obviously this is a terrible plan, and so it sort of follows her, I don't know if it's a crisis, but sort of what she decides to do with her life from there. There's a lot of scheming and plotting in the first season, and there's a lot of healing in like the 3rd season, I think. So it deals with mental illness and love. It's but it is a comedy, and it is also a musical, which I love. So if you love musicals, I think that the musical element was so fun and so funny. One of my favorites was I Give Good Parent, where she goes to, is it Thanksgiving with the man she's trying to seduce, and tries to, she gives good parent. She gets his parents to like her. So, one of the ones I saw sort of floating around social media a lot was I'm Getting By, which is her boss singing about how he's bisexual. And that was a really fun one. Yeah, so the music videos, honestly, when I'm having a bad day, I pretty frequently pull up some of the music from this show because it makes me laugh. Makes me feel better. And the last episode is not an episode, it's a live show they did. And I actually teared up watching it because it was this cast of people like singing and dancing, and honestly this show is really weird in certain ways and it's very much not like other things on TV, and I was weirdly proud of them for doing it, for making it 4 seasons and finishing their story and writing all of those songs and ending it all by tap dancing together on stage. So you go, you funky little theater geeks. And that is the one I'm going to end on. These are different TV shows I've watched this year. I think some of them maybe last year. I think Witcher came out in December, right? So hopefully there's some ideas for ways you can watch TV during these times where we sit inside all day.